Okay, now this is a Booktube tag, and I was tagged by Kevin Towell of the wonderful Kevin Towell's Reads, and I'll place a link to that down below, and there's many others who are taking part in this tag, and I'll also link to as many as I can find. So this tag is called The Philosophy of Reading, and it's a series of life questions. So the question to me, what is your philosophy of reading, is a strange one, because I've always read since I was a little kid. You may as well say to me, what's your philosophy of breathing? What's your philosophy of eating? I've always read, so... But I suppose if I had a philosophy, then I'd like to... I think with a quote by George R. Martin. I know it's 2 R's, but I'm not saying George R. R. Martin because it makes me sound like a pirate. There's a quote, and I'm going to mangle this quote, but it goes something like, you only live one life, but a reader lives 1,000 lives. And that, I suppose, would best sum up my philosophy of reading. Because, via the written word, I've travelled the world. I've been to the Old West, I've been to the plains of the Old West, I've been to war-torn Berlin, I've been to darkest Africa, I've been to distant planets, I've been everywhere. So I think reading it's in my DNA. I've always read. The latest book I've read, just finished today actually, is The Wasp Trap by Mark Edwards. A superb book. It's a psychological thriller, and it's great to see Mark now out with a mainstream publisher in hardcover, because his is a massive success story. He started out self-publishing way back with the Magpies. He did a couple of joint books with another author, but his first solo book, The Magpies, was a massive seller, and that led to him getting a deal with Thomas and Murcher, which is the Amazon imprint. And he's like, well, I think it says on this book that he's a 5 million copy bestseller. This is a very twisty tale, and I'm going to do a full review of this soon. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of twists in it. I'm not going to say too much because it's a current book, so I don't want to give away spoilers. But towards, say, the last quarter of the book, I thought, hang on now, this don't make no sense. There would have been an easier way for the bad guys in this book to solve their dilemma. There'd be an easier way to do it, but then that's on the very next page. That's addressed. Absolutely brilliant book. So that's my philosophy of reading, I suppose. There's also a quote from Stephen King, and I don't know if it comes from his book on writing, which I would recommend to anyone interested in not only writing but reading as well, because Stephen King's on writing it's essential to anyone who's interested in the written word. And Stephen King basically says that if you're not a reader, then you haven't got the tools to be a writer. So I guess that there sums up my philosophy of reading. Right, on to question 2. Okay, question 2 is, when did you first think of yourself as a reader? Well, to be honest with you, and I don't want to be facetious, that's right now, the first time I've ever thought about it, because I have never really thought about it before. So as I say, I've always read from a very young age, probably about... time I started reading regularly was probably about 11 years of age, which is not as young as some, but it was because of my mum. I was due to go from junior school, as we call it over here, down to comprehensive school, and that 6-week summer holiday, my mother discovered that I couldn't read. I'd managed to fake it in school by memorizing things. So when I knew from the photographs in the books, we had picture books back in those days, what the words were. So I wasn't actually reading, so there became a battle of wills between me and my mum, and she kept me in for the entire 6 weeks holiday until I buckled down and started to read. And suffice to say, I did learn to read, and by the time I started comprehensive school, I was in the top band for reading. And I haven't stopped reading ever since, so I've never really thought of myself as a reader as such. It's just become such an intrinsic part of my life. For instance, today I nipped into the supermarket to pick myself up I just wanted a bottle of whiskey and some odds and ends, and I purchased a book. Mark Billingham's new Tom Thorne thriller, What the Night Brings. I really do love the Tom Thorne books, so this will be my next read. In fact, I'm planning to sit down tonight and pour myself a glass of the aforementioned whiskey and read What the Night Brings. Really do like Mark Billingham. He's got a lot of, I've got some things in common with Mark Billingham, because like Mr. Billingham, I too have done some stand-up comedy in the past, although my books are not quite as successful as Mr. Billingham, so we haven't got so much in common as I'd like to think. But this is the new Tom Thorne thriller, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Now, question 3 is, what are some goals or hopes that you have for your reading life? Well, goals, I think, I'd have to say that I really want to finish the Lord of the Rings trilogy this year. I did mention in an earlier video that although I know the Lord of the Rings saga really well, I'd never read the books. Now, I recently, last month, read Fellowship of the Rings, the first part, so that's a goal, to do Two Towers and Return of the King this year. That's one of my goals. Other goals are, I think, to read more and more indie authors, and to discover good indie authors, because there are a lot of indie authors out there. So I don't want to just, keep reading from writers that I know can be trusted. I want to experiment. I want to branch out a bit. And the final question is, what is part of your current reading life right now that is important and exciting to you? Well, I think, to go back to my first answer, reading allows me to travel to strange places, to different parts of the world, into outer space, into fantasy worlds that have never existed. That excites me. And getting deep inside a good story, that also excites me. Especially when the writer has brought the characters to life. I do love authors' character work. People like Stephen King, I think his character work is superb. In fact, I think that's one of King's best aspects of his writing, his character work. So that's it, basically. It's fun doing this. It's given me a idea for a video, because I didn't know what to post, and then Kevin Towles went and tagged me in this philosophy of reading book tag. Sorry for my eyes going up to the screen, but I'm looking at the tag there as I'm speaking, reminding myself. So I'm not that well known in Booktube. I haven't long been doing Booktube videos, so I'm probably not going to tag anyone except for Thomas McNulty, who's a fellow ex-Black Horse Western writer like myself. I know he's got a channel, which is wonderful. So I'm going to tag Mr. McNulty. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd be so kind, and leave a comment. And thank you, Kevin Towles, for tagging me in the philosophy of reading.